You have a huge research team that's been collecting, I think I heard 500 billion pieces of data in one form or another. Given the fact that these outcomes that you're talking about are so unbelievable, are you having to work additionally hard, be additionally rigorous when it comes to the science in order to dispel any accusations of the pseudoscience stuff?
Gosh, what a great conversation. Thanks for asking the question. The whole reason that I started measuring, and we've been measuring for a long time now, was because when I saw someone with MS in a wheelchair come to the event in a wheelchair and walk out without one, I said, we got to start measuring. I mean, what is happening in that person's brain? What is happening in their body? What's happening in their biology? What's happening on a cellular level? Is there information in their blood? What's happening to their immune system? And we started, gathering, a lot of data. I mean, we have way over 500 billion data points. That's usually just one or two studies. And so when we started partnering with the University of California, San Diego, I simply said to those scientists, okay, same thoughts, same choices, same behaviors, same experiences, same emotions. That's the known. Same biology. Sounds right? New thoughts, new choices, new behaviors, new experiences, new emotions, new biology. Possibly that's a good hypothesis. You're willing to measure it. So we've measured so many things in the human body that says that you can change your brain to work way better in 4 days. You can make your heart way better. You can express new genes. You could release thousands of metabolites, thousands and thousands of metabolites in 7 days that promote growth and repair in your body. We find information in meditators' blood that has a resistance to viruses, all kinds of viruses, even ones with spikes. That the information in advanced meditators' blood somehow diminishes mitochondrial function in cancer cells. That's the energy in the cell. Not a little bit, but 70%, which is dramatic. And if cancer cells love to multiply and move, and they have no energy, they don't live as long. There's information in the blood of advanced meditators that somehow downregulates the genes for Alzheimer's. We're finding robust amounts of endogenous opiates that reduce pain across the board. We measured 63 different health conditions, 63 different diseases, all different diseases, one intervention, and the majority of those people have a significant reduction in pain and a very elevated level of endogenous opiates in their bloodstream. Natural pain relievers, natural chemicals that make you feel good. So we've explored the microbiome. We see that you can change your microbiome in 7 days to look like a way healthier person without taking a probiotic, without changing your diet, without eliminating anything. Somehow, the microbiome changes dramatically for the better. And the reason is because they're not the same person any longer. They're a different person. So we've spent the last 4 years working with the University of California, San Diego, in doing extensive research on the brain, extensive research on heart measurements, a lot of blood values, urine, everything. We measure saliva, we measure breast milk, we measure tears. I mean, we've measured just about everything. Yeah.
And are these published? These results are published?
Yes, we have some papers that are published now. We have some papers that are in peer review right now. We have about 5 more papers that we're getting busy writing, but we probably have the largest database in the world on meditation right now.
What are the most common criticisms that you get?
Wow. I would say that, when you see the empirical science, a lot of people that see the data, whether we show it to reputable universities and professors or to NASA or to whoever, I think one of the things that people have there's the most shock and surprise is that you never see these type of changes in 7 days. Like a drug study, you don't ever see these kind of, we're talking about thousands of genes upregulated to suggest the person's living in a completely different environment, a completely different life, and they're in a ballroom, So when you see the effects change like that in 7 days, anybody who's a scientist that has that trained mind, they're going to fall out of their chair, because it's the metagenomics around it is not just one or two people, it's the whole entire group. So think about it. 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 different people, all different genotypes. Everybody has their own gene sequence, okay? At the end of 7 days, 77% of those people are signaling the same genes and making the same proteins. That's kind of wild. That means that the flock, the herd, the school, everybody's evolving. There's an emergent consciousness that's actually, everybody's biology is evolving together. And that's exciting, because people change people. That's what we discovered. So when we show the data to people, they see it, the conversation that we used to have, where we'd have to be on the defense, has changed dramatically, because these are double-blind and triple-blind placebo studies. They're very, very rigorous studies. So the scientist that sees it questions the time, and then a drug study is about 25% effective. And it usually takes 3 to 6 months before you see the efficacy turn out. Our data's like somewhere between 75 and 100%. So it shows that the nervous system is the greatest pharmacist in the world. It actually works better than any drug. So when people really begin to see the science and it challenges their belief. I keep telling the scientists, I can't believe this is the truth. I'm more surprised than anybody. But I also say to them, where do those chemicals come from? Where are they coming from? The person's not taking opiates. They're not taking anti-carcinogen. They're not taking anything to change their biology. It's coming from within them. So it's been changing the conversation in medicine quite a bit, and we're just working on finding the language. But people who see the data are very surprised, and they want to know what we're doing, which is a different conversation that we've had in the past.
Are you doing longitudinal studies? Are you seeing how long the immersive stuff? What sort of effects does this lock in over time? Are people reverting as soon as they're out of this very energetic group of people? What's happening over time?
Yes, that's a great question. So that's one of the things about this work that I really, really love in terms of our community. It's not like people go, oh, I got to go meditate today. It's the morning. That's not how our community is. The majority of the people that come to a week-long event keep doing the work. The majority of them do, because the magic in their life is starting to happen. And why would you want to stop from having those events, actually take place? So we see that people who heal, this sounds kind of crazy, and we've had a lot of people instantaneously have a reversal in a health condition from one meditation, from one inward experience. There's an arousal that takes place in their nervous system. They move into these heightened states of gamma brainwave patterns. The person is having an inward experience that's greater than the betrayal or the trauma from the past, and somehow there's an upgrade in their biology. There's the eczema, now it's gone. There's the myasthenia gravis, now it's gone. There's the Parkinson's, it was there, now it's gone. There's the cancer, now it's gone. There's the deafness, now the person's hearing. Now the blindness is the person's seeing. It's like that. It's like the person comes back and there's an upgrade. Right?
What do you think's happening inside of the body? What's going on?
Okay. So anyway, let me finish that thought, and then I'll answer it, because it's important to ask that question. Those people who have those biological upgrades that are instantaneous, when we measure them 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, there's a sustained change. They got the upgrade.
If they continue to do the practice?
No. Even if they don't do the practice, they got a very good upgrade. Now, a certain percentage of people that have an upgrade like that, and they go back to the stressful life, the Parkinson's returns, the cancer returns, because they're back to the same personality again, and they're making their same chemistry. Now, many of those people continue in that direction. Other people catch themselves and they said, if I change this Parkinson's once because my father's in the hospital and I'm emotionally reacted, I can change it again. And they actually change it again, right? And then there's people who go through that process of breaking the habit of being themselves and becoming, reinventing another person. And it's a constant process of change.
You can't get a super responder with the first
right.
one and done type person.
Yeah, one connection, one moment of connection, like a brainstorm. And those people who cross the river of change, they tend to do the work consistently because they want to keep changing. They're not doing their meditations to heal. They're doing the meditations to change. And when they understand when they change, they heal. So it's the process of change that they're interested in. So we have a good percentage of people who do the work, and after they finish the immersive experience, that sustain those changes. And we have a lot of people that sustain changes whether they do it or they don't do it. So what's happening in their biology? It's a great question. Let me see if I can answer this in a methodical way. Your senses plug you into three-dimensional reality, right? So if I took away your sight, if I took away your hearing, I took away your smell, your taste, and feeling with your body, you would have no experience of three-dimensional reality, but you would still be conscious. But you would be conscious of nothing material or physical. You would just be conscious that you're conscious, and you would be conscious of nothing, in a sense. So when a person is immersed in three-dimensional reality, their neocortex, their thinking brain, is super busy scanning the environment and associating knowns, and it's got to process a lot of information that's coming in through the senses, what it's seeing, what it's hearing, what it's smelling, what it's tasting, what it's feeling. And that a lot of that information is coming in. The brain's job is to create meaning between your inner world and your outer world. And if you were to measure a person's brainwaves, they're pretty much in beta brainwave patterns. And that means you're conscious, you're awake, and you're aware that you're in a body local in space and time. You're aware of your environment and you're aware of time. And that's how we navigate in three-dimensional reality. And there's neurotransmitters in the brain that support that, okay? If I said to you, you got to do a speech and it's got to be done without any notes, you got about 45 minutes to prepare, your brain would kind of perk up a little bit, and it would be kind of a good stress. You'd have to perform. You're confident. You'd have to get ready. You'd have to change your state. You'd have to think. You'd have to, all right, what do I want to talk about? I got to change my state. You would move into mid-range beta. Light bulb gets a little brighter, and you're a little bit more ready. In a sense. But when you react and you're emotional and you're stressed and you're out of balance, you go into this very high beta brainwave pattern. And that's 3 times as high as low-level beta. That's when the brain is in first gear on the freeway. It is you consuming all of its energy, and it's sweeping the environment, and it's shifting its attention from one person to another problem, to another thing, to another place. It's trying to forecast, it's trying to predict, and the brain starts firing very, very disintegratedly. It's firing incoherently, out of order. And people they need a drug, or they need a drink, or they need something to take away that kind of state. And their thoughts are literally driving the brain into higher and higher states of beta. Their addiction to those thoughts are driving the brain out of balance. Okay, so when you're in that state, you're very narrow focused. You're obsessing on things. That's what the brain does. It overthinks. It overanalyzes. So if you can change your brain waves from beta to alpha, now your inner world starts becoming more real than your outer world. And in a sense, you become more creative. Your brain stops talking to you in your head. You stop analyzing. You start seeing in images. You start seeing in pictures. And alpha is an imaginary, very creative state. You're still aware of your outer environment, but not so much. Okay, so here's the answer to your question. If you can get so relaxed that your body moves into a light state, and it's in a light rest, and you're conscious and awake, now you're in theta. And that's a very hypnotic state. And when you're in a hypnotic state, you're in a state of trance, and you're very suggestible to information. And suggestibility is your ability to accept information, to believe the information, to surrender to it. And that's what can program a person to do about just about anything, right? So a hypnotist uses, when he's making suggestions, the person who's in theta, the door between their conscious mind and the subconscious mind is wide open to information. Okay, so that makes sense. If you're getting information through your senses and you're in theta, you're in a hypnotic state. But what if the person's eyes are closed? What if there's music filling the space? They're not eating, they're not tasting, they're not smelling, they're not experiencing, they're not feeling, and they're in that realm of theta. And I ask them, instead of put all of their attention on everything physical and everything material, to open their awareness, instead of narrow their focus, broaden their focus, and put their attention not on the material, but on the immaterial, not on the particle, but the wave, not on matter, but on energy. And the atom is 99.9999% information and energy, okay? So having the person focus on nothing, this is the funny part about it, and broadening their focus, if they can dial down their thinking neocortex to theta, they'll have no experience of their body, no experience of their environment, and no experience of time. And they're in theta, they're still suggestible to information. But they're not aware of their outer environment, but they're still suggestible. There's only one other place that information comes from, and that's frequency. And all frequency, radio waves, Wi-Fi waves, X-rays, all carry information. So when the person opens their awareness to the wave function, to energy, and to information, they pay more attention to that and less attention to themselves. They connect more to that and less to the three-dimensional reality. If there's coherence in the brain, all of a sudden the person has a moment of connection. And the brain goes into a gamma brainwave state. And gamma now is an arousal. It's superconsciousness. But it's not coming from fear. It's not coming from aggression or anger. It's not coming from pain. The arousal is ecstasy. The person is making a connection. And when we measure the amount of gamma that's taking place in the person's brain, 2% to 3% of the population, in anything that we're measuring, really good is 3 standard deviations outside of normal. These people are 200, 300, 400, 500 standard deviations outside of normal. And 3 is really great.
Is this on an fMRI?
This is on a quantitative EEG. And we see the same pattern. The limbic brain, the seat of the autonomic nervous system, is functioning in a very, very coherent, highly organized, very, very fast frequency of gamma. Now remember, stress is autonomic dysregulation, right? Dysregulation in the autonomic nervous system, moving out of balance. These high states of gamma is autonomic regulation. Now, the autonomic nervous system controls and coordinates every system in the body. And if it's processing an energy and a frequency that fast, every single cell in the body is getting the information. And the body's literally raised in energy and raised in frequency. And that's when you see the instantaneous upgrade that goes on biologically in a person's body. And we actually now can predict it. When we see a person move into a certain level of theta, we can say, oh boy, this is going to be really good, like really good. And that person is having a very, very powerful internal experience.
What is the felt sense that somebody will tend to go through during that process? What's the embodied subjective experience of going through this?
So we have a scientist that studies the language of transformation from the University of Central Oklahoma. A super great guy, and he's been studying the language of transformation and all the testimonials of many of the people who have had these moments. And the subjective experience is twofold. It's very somatic. When I mean somatic, I mean like they say, like every single cell in my body was vibrating at a faster frequency. I felt incredible. My heart felt like it was going to blow open. I felt like I was filled with light. They'll give you like something very somatic, like, oh my God, I felt this in my body. And then it's also very emotional. That's the other part. But it's not like emotional, like I've never felt love. I thought I understood love. I thought I have felt love. I've never felt love like this. I felt so connected. I felt so whole. I felt so pure. I felt it was the most unfamiliar feeling I've ever had. Oh my God, I forgot that it was within me, whatever. And then the other element is after that, they have a language where they only can use metaphor to describe the unknown experience. They'll say, yeah, my heart turned on like an engine. The top of my head blew off. There was lightning coming out of my fingertips. They're trying to explain, but they'll say, well, it wasn't lightning really. It just felt like this, but it was more like this. So the language specialist that has been studying this had his own moment at an event we did in Marco Island last September, where he connected, and I sat down with him and talked to him, and he could not find the language.
The language guy.
The language guy could not find the language to explain what the heck happened to him, but he was totally switched on. So there's an arousal that takes place. There's high gamma brainwave patterns. It's autonomic regulation. It's very somatic. It's very emotional, and people describe it kind of like a connection.
In other news, this episode is brought to you by Momentous. A lot of supplements say that they're top quality, but very few can actually prove it. And Momentous has the most rigorous third-party testing of any supplement company that I've ever found. Andrew Huberman is the scientific advisor for them. My favorite product from them is their sleep pack, which contains everything that you need for a good night's sleep, including magnesium L3, threonate, apigenin, and L-theanine in the optimal doses to help you get a better, deeper, more restful night's sleep. This is all that you need. You can throw it in your bag, you can take it with you on the road, or you can just take it every single evening. It's made a massive difference to the quality of my sleep. Best of all, they've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can buy anything and try it for 29 days. And if you don't like it, they will give you your money back. They ship internationally, and you can get free US shipping on orders over $75. Right now, you can get a 20% discount on everything site-wide by going to the link in the description below or heading to livemomentous.com/modernwisdom using the code modernwisdom at checkout. That's livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and modernwisdom at checkout. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip with Joe, you will love the full-length 3-hour-long podcast in all its glory right here. Go on, give it a tap.